everyone. I'm back with Sarah Sladek, and she is pretty awesome about retaining young talent. She's an expert in that field. And if you didn't check out the podcast, I'll leave a link in the description below. But we wanted to have a bonus conversation about the role that women play in manufacturing. It's really important. Manufacturing is still a male dominated sport, male dominated business. And but there are more women coming in. So, Sarah, since you're an expert on kind of retaining talent, how do we recruit and retain, more importantly, more women in the STEM fields and in manufacturing? Are there any strategies for that?
Yeah, that's a big question. It is unfortunate that during, just recently during pandemic, there's been a huge loss of women in the workforce overall, all types of industries, because, women tend to be the ones that are raising the children or feel more responsibility that way. They were the ones sitting at the kitchen table being teacher during pandemic and helping their kids with all that. And it's concerning too. During pandemic, I'm a women-owned business, and I'm aware as a result of being part of many women-owned business groups, there were a lot of women-owned businesses that weren't able to stay open for all those reasons. So we definitely need women in manufacturing and beyond. I think when we talk about retaining women as talent, flexibility obviously is huge.
Is that number one? Is that the number one thing that
I
women
would
want,
say that
as opposed to men?
It is flexibility and balance, as well as that respect, that take an interest in me at work, but also in the fact that I wear other hats. I have a family, or I have other interests and obligations and responsibilities outside of work, especially with Gen X women. Gen X women, the vast majority, are caring for children under the age of 18 at the same time they're caring for aging relatives. So the pressures on Gen X women are incredibly high. And so if we want to keep their talent, we have to be flexible. We just have to be, and really understanding of their situation. They don't want to be treated special or different than the guys on the job. I think that flexibility for that reason has to be expanded to the entire team. That if you need to leave an hour early, if you need to take a personal day, if you need to work from home, those are all options, and it's okay. And that is celebrated and expected in our work environment. That's key.
Yeah, I think I see this too. And just going way back, you and I both have been reporters before, and we kind of share that kind of foundational background. And there was a time when I was a female sports writer, and I talk to women now who are engineers, and they don't want to be called a female engineer or a woman engineer. They just want to be called an engineer. But that title didn't bother me so much. I kind of wore it as a badge of honor because there were so few of us at the time. Yeah. I mean, now you see women reporters on the sideline of every single football game, college and pro. Yeah. That's just there's so many women in that field now. But back in the day, long time ago, when I was a sports reporter in the early 1990s, way long ago, there weren't that many of us. Right. But I wore that as a badge of honor. But at the same time, I didn't want to be treated differently.
Right.
I wanted to know that I belonged and that I was part of the team, and I should be involved in decision making if it was appropriate. And I think that the women in manufacturing now are feeling that way too. They want to be involved, but they're okay with being the minority. Are you seeing that, or are you seeing any shifts in that? Is it getting to a point where people aren't really looking at females as a female, quote female engineer anymore? Is there more respect now, I guess is the question.
I would like to think that we're making progress on that front. I would like to think we're nearing more gender equality. I do see the world. I have teenage girls, and one who's a teenager, one early 20s, and I see the world through their eyes, and they complain a lot about that we
Yeah.
still have a long way to go with gender
Right.
equality in terms of pay, in terms of, the Me Too movement.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, there's still so many situations where women don't have the same treatment and that same equality. I would,
Right.
however, we have made progress, but I think we still have a ways to go. I
Hmm.
think in those STEM fields, I am bolstered by the fact that there are so many programs, like even in Girl Scouts, and
Oh,
so
absolutely.
many programs like that are jumping in and seeking to help build that talent pipeline. And that talent pipeline, I was talking about that earlier with you, that we just have failed miserably at building it, whether it's with women or other populations. Just this
Hmm.
idea of young talent, anything besides white male talent. We
Right.
just haven't done a good job of prioritizing it, and even young talent in comparison. So we are making progress. We have a ways to go, but I think there's some positivity out there, and I do think women are proud to be trailblazing and leading the way for other women.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's very interesting because when we talk about diversity, unfortunately, we're still talking about
Still,
women
mm-hmm.
as part of that group
Yeah,
that needs to be included.
yeah,
And you think, as your daughter said, we should be a little bit further along
yeah,
on that path. But do you see that changing in the future? Do you think it's going to be a time when gender doesn't matter
yeah.
and it's all equal?
Right. So we are, I think, pushing towards that very quickly right now in terms of um, we've seen Generation Z is just advocating for equality and change,
Right.
and change in our environment, change in our workplaces, change in our schools, change in gun control, whatever it may be. They are on the forefront advocating, rallying for it. That
Right.
is going to influence change. I mean, we saw when Greta Thunberg was 16 years old, she was meeting with the Pope and the president and using
Absolutely.
her
I
voice for
mean,
change. We've
absolutely.
seen other
Yes.
women doing similar things like Malala and others. So it is happening. I think on Gen Z's watch, they're not going to stand for anything less than equality. That's absolutely critical to them. And they have the tool now with social media, being very adept at that, to use their voice in a multitude of ways. So employers are going to be held more accountable and called out when they are not doing things that are equal. It's becoming much more difficult to just ignore it and turn a blind eye.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's a fascinating conversation. We could go on and on about it, but I just wanted to have a little chat with you about just the role of women in manufacturing. I do think it's becoming more prominent,
Yeah.
and there are more and more women coming in. You see it all the time. Everything from the women on working on construction sites, or women designing the houses, or or being the CEO of the company building the house. So you see it from the bottom all the way up, and we see you can walk into any plant now and see women on the manufacturing floor. You see women plant managers. You see women engineers. Of course, that's really big. The area they've really made women have really made a lot of stride in is the roles, the STEM professions. So it's great to see, and and I love that that's part of the diversity. But maybe one day that will just be
It just
a
will
normal
be
thing.
right.
It'd just be normal to
Mm-hmm.
see just as many women as men,
Yeah.
so hopefully we see that. Sarah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much for this bonus content. It's wonderful. We really appreciate it, and just thank you for being here.
Oh, absolutely. It was a joy.
Thank you.